Hello everyone, I am Priyanka Rajaram, Chemistry Faculty, Vidyashram PU College, Temple of Excellence. Today's topic is solid state. This is the first chapter for your second PUC. Now let's look into the weightage of this chapter. In our question paper, we know there are 4 parts, part A, part B, part C and part D. In this chapter, you can expect one question from part B carrying 2 marks and one question in part D carrying 5 marks. Okay. So directly you do not have a 5-mark question. It can be split up into 3 plus 2 or 3 plus 1 plus 1 or also 4 plus 1 because we have one particular question which can be asked for 4 marks which belongs to this chapter. Now going forward to the objectives of the class. That's what is that I am going to study for today's class. We are going to study the general characteristics of solid state, 2 types of solids, crystalline and amorphous, and how to distinguish between these 2 solids. Now we have studied 3 states of matter, that is solids, liquids and gases. So these 2 states of matter you have studied it in a first year, that is gases. You have studied it as state of matter, gaseous state you have studied this, and some of the properties of liquids. Just to brush upon, gases do not have a definite shape, do not have a definite volume. They can occupy the space. Correct? Also, coming to the intermolecular force of attraction, that is the attraction between the particles, is not very strong. They are the weakest which is there. So the intermolecular force of attraction is very weak. Coming to our liquids, in liquids they do not have a definite shape but they do have a definite volume. Correct? They can take the shape of the container. Also, coming to intermolecular force of attraction, they are also weak but not as weak as gases, not as strong as solids. Next, we are moving forward to our topic, that is solid state. Now, in and around us, if you see, there are many types of solid. For example, I can take the metal copper or iron. I can take plastic or glass, or we can take sodium chloride, that is the table salt which is present in our home. These are different solids which is there. Also you can take so many examples, like for example you are writing on a book, that's a solid. You are writing with a pen, that's also a solid. The place where you are sitting, if you are sitting on the chair is a solid. So what are all these materials having the same property? No, everyone have a different property. Metal, they have a high melting point, whereas if I take sodium chloride in the solid state, they do not conduct electricity, but if I dissolve them in water, they do conduct electricity, isn't it? So what is it that's making these solids different from one another, but still they are solids? So it is mainly the constituent particles which is it made up of, and the binding forces which is there between these constituent particles. So we are going to learn the structure and the correlation to its properties in the solids. So if we learn this, how I can modify the structure of the solid so that I will get the different kind of property, so that new solids or new types of solids can be prepared according to our desire or our convenience. Okay, so that is what we are going to learn today in our solids chapter. Now moving forward, we'll start from the basics, from what is a solid and what are the properties of solid. So solid is a state of matter in which the constituting particles are arranged very closely. That is, the particles in the solids are very close to one another. They are arranged very closely to one another. What are these constituent particles? They can be atoms, molecules, or ions. What is it? It can be atoms, molecules, or it can be ions. So this is why we are using the word constituent particles. The solid can be made up of any of these three. So collectively I am using the word constituent particle or constituting particle. Okay. Now going to the properties of solid. What are the properties of solid? I told you they are very closely arranged. So the solid is very hard or it is rigid, we can tell. So this is the property of a solid. It is rigid. They have a definite shape. They have a definite volume. Okay. Also they are incompressible. I cannot compress the solid very easily, or it is incompressible. They do not have place to be compressed. They are very, very close to one another. So they are incompressible. Coming to intermolecular force of attraction. Okay. Here if you see in this picture, I have depicted a green color molecule or a green color particle and a red color particle, and they are very close to one another. Correct? They are very close to one another. So intermolecular distance is short, but intermolecular force of attraction is very strong because they are very close to one another. They are very close to one another. That's why the intermolecular force of attraction is very strong. Also you can see in this particular picture that the particles are just moving, no? They are just oscillating in its fixed position. Yes, they have the particles which is there in a solid, they can oscillate in their mean position. So they can oscillate in their mean position. So these are the properties of our solid. Also their thermal energy is very low because they cannot freely move like gases or the liquids. So what are the properties of solid? They are rigid, they are incompressible, the intermolecular distance is short, the intermolecular force of attraction is very strong, and they can oscillate in their fixed position. Also they have a definite mass, definite volume, and definite shape. So these are the properties of solids. Now let's look into what are the different types of solids or how are they classified. They are classified into crystalline solids and amorphous solids. What is it? Crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Now if you see in this particular picture, what is the difference here? In this also there is silicon and oxygen. Here also this also is made up of silicon and oxygen. But what is the difference? The difference is in arrangement. What is it? The difference is in the arrangement of the particles. If you see in the crystalline solids, the particles are arranged orderly. They are arranged orderly, and in amorphous solid they are random arrangement. They have a random arrangement. So if I have to tell the definition of crystalline solids, the solids in which the constituting particles are arranged in an orderly manner, such solids are called as crystalline solids. Example, you can give quartz. Some more examples I shall show you in my next slide. Also, the definition for amorphous solid is the constituting particles of the solid are arranged in a random manner, or they are arranged randomly. Then such solids are called as amorphous solids. Example, we can give it as glass. Now going forward to certain examples of our crystalline and amorphous solid. Examples for crystalline solids, you can see here there is diamond, salt, or I can tell sodium chloride to be more specific in chemistry. Sodium chloride, our table salt, is also a crystalline solid. I can tell metal iron or copper is also a crystalline solid. Okay, so these are some of the example of our crystalline solids. Now let's see or look into the examples of amorphous solids. Okay, amorphous solids, if I have to tell, you can see here There's a tire which is made up of rubber, plastic and glass. So these are the common examples of amorphous solids. Okay. Now if I have to tell, amorphous solids are also called as pseudo solids. What is it called as? Pseudo. What do you mean by pseudo? Pseudo means false. Okay. So why are they called as pseudo solids? Even they are solids. They are hard, they have so many properties of solids, but why are they called as pseudo solids? Okay, they're supposed to be a liquid, but we have super cooled them and we have got the solid form of them. Okay, they're also amorphous solids are also called as super cooled liquids. For example, glass. Okay, now if you see the old buildings which is 100-200 years old, which has a glass window. Okay, in the window you can see the glass, and the glass, if you see of these old buildings, in the bottom part of the glass it would be very thick and the upper part of the glass is very thin. Why is it so? That is because over the years, over many years, slowly the glass has been flowing and it has come below, and it is the bottom part of the glass has become thick and the upper part of the glass is become thin. One more example, a very old mirror if you take. Okay, very old mirror, not the normal mirror, not the new ones. Okay, if you take the old mirror and look at yourself, you look a little distorted, no? That's the same reason where the glass would have slowly melted over a period of time, and the bottom would have become thick and the upper part would have become thin. That's why you look a little distorted in a very old mirror as well. So that's the reason. They should have been liquids, but we have cooled them and we have got the solid form. So that's the reason we call them as amorphous solids. Now moving forward, we are going to learn some of the properties of these crystalline and amorphous solids. You can also see I have put it just in 2 columns, so that's very easy for you all to write for the exam. If they ask you to write the differences between crystalline and amorphous solids. Okay, so we learn hand in hand the properties of both the solids. So the first one is the shape. I told you all crystalline solids have a definite shape. They do not have a definite shape or geometry. Okay, if I take diamond, if I take any piece of diamond, they have a particular perfect geometry. All the diamonds in the world have a particular perfect geometry. Okay, so that's the reason we call it as definite. They have a definite geometry. Diamond is a crystalline solid. Similarly, amorphous solids, they do not have a definite geometry because they are randomly placed. The geometry is not there. The shape can change. Okay, for example, if you take glass and all, you can, if at a little higher temperature, they'll melt or they'll soften, and you can mold them into different shapes as well. Okay, so the geometry also is not perfect, or it's not definite, just like crystalline solids. Next one is order of arrangement of the constituent particles. Now if I see a crystalline solids, the arrangement is throughout the crystal is same. So we are using the word long range order. Long range order means the order is perfect throughout. Then we call them as long range order. But in amorphous solids, even if there is a small order, if you observe an order, it is only for short period or only for a short distance you can see the order. Again they will get disorganized, or again they will become really random. So that's the reason we are using the word short range order for our amorphous solids. Now coming forward to the third property, that's the melting point. What is melting point? If I take a solid and if I am measuring, also I have to measure the temperature as well. I am heating it. When I am heating it at a particular temperature, all the solid will get converted to the liquid suddenly. Okay, and that temperature we call it as melting point. Now for this melting point, for our crystalline solids, it's very definite. Okay, definite. For example, sodium chloride has the melting point of 801 degrees Celsius. Tin has the melting point of 231.9 degrees Celsius. That means at that particular temperature they are melting. Okay, you are heating it and they are melting. So they have a definite melting point. But amorphous solids do not have a definite melting point. They melt at the range of temperature. What is it? They melt at a range of temperature. That means there is a temperature range through which they melt. For example, they start melting at 60 degrees Celsius. They're still melting, they're completely not melted at 60 degrees Celsius. They're still melting up to 70-75 degrees Celsius is their melting range. Okay, so they melt throughout that 15 degrees Celsius range is there for them. So you cannot tell there is a definite one particular temperature you cannot give for our amorphous solids. So now coming to heat of fusion. What is the meaning of heat of fusion? You have learnt in first year. Just to brush up again, heat of fusion means the amount of heat required for a particular mass of a solid to get converted into a liquid, or the energy which is required by 1 mole of a solid substance to get converted into its liquid form, okay, at a particular temperature, and usually the temperature is melting point because they melt at the melting point. Okay, so that energy is usually measured in joules or kilojoules. I can tell you have learned heat of fusion of ice is 333 kilojoules, isn't it? So that is when the amount of energy required for ice to melt into the liquid form. Similarly, for crystalline solids, the heat of fusion is definite, but amorphous solid, they also have a range of melting temperature. So I cannot tell even the I cannot tell definite value for the heat of fusion. They also have a range there. Okay, you cannot give a particular definite value, so many kilojoules of energy is required, you cannot tell there, because they have a range of melting point and you cannot even measure their perfectly the heat of fusion of our amorphous solids. Now coming to the cleavage property. What is this cleavage property? If I take a sharp edge tool and break or try to cut crystalline solids, it will cut into 2 pieces, and both the pieces, the surface will be smooth. Okay, the surface will be smooth, the plane will be smooth, so they will get a regular cleavage. What will they get? Regular cleavage with plane surface or smooth surface. Okay, whereas if I cut the amorphous solid, what happens is they will get an irregular surface. The surface is not smooth, there is some irregularity in the surface, so they have an irregular cleavage, or the pieces will be having irregular surfaces, or they'll have an irregular surfaces will be there. Now coming to the property anisotropy, I shall just come to this property using a picture I will explain. Before that, we shall just finish the nature, because I have already explained this. The nature, they are called as true solids. Crystalline solids are called as true solids because they have all the properties of solids, but amorphous solids are called as pseudo solids because I told you all they can soften, we can mold them, you know, they're supercooled liquids. I just explained why they are called as pseudo solids. Now going back to our anisotropy. Now what do you mean by anisotropy? Okay, in our crystalline solids, you can see there's an orderly arrangement. Now I have shown the 2 colored particles, one is in green and one is in pink. Okay, so these 2, if you see, they are orderly arranged, we can observe that. And if I measure a physical property like refractive index or electrical conductivity, or I can take electrical resistance, thermal conductivity, etc. Okay, now for example I'll take refractive index. Okay, refractive index, if I measure in this direction, okay, in this direction, if I measure, if I measure in this direction A, okay, I will get a value X, and if I measure in this direction B, I will get a different value Y. I will not get the same value when I am measuring the physical property when the direction is changed. Okay, the same value I will not get when I change the direction for a crystalline solid. Whereas if I take an amorphous solid and measure its physical property, what will happen is, in this A direction also I will get the value x, in and around in B direction also I will get the value x. Okay, here also I will get the similar value, here also I am going to get the similar value. So as I change the direction, the value for the physical property will not change in amorphous solid. That's why they are called iso. Iso means same. Isotropy. They show isotropy. Amorphous solids show isotropy, whereas crystalline solids show anisotropy. That means the direction of the measurement changes. The measure in the direction with which I am measuring changes, the value of the physical property also will change. That is why. Why is that? What is the reason for this? That is, you can see here in this particular diagram itself, in this direction I got all pink color particles, correct? So I have got a different value because I have got only one kind of particles there, whereas in this direction B what I have taken, I have got both the particles in alternate. So again the value will change because there are two different types of particles. Here the refractive index was there one value because of one type of particle. Here I have an alternate of the particle, so the refractive index is different. Okay, so as even if they are very orderly arranged, the values of the physical properties can change when the direction changes. I hope it's very clear to you all. Okay, so that is the meaning of anisotropy and isotropy in our crystalline and amorphous solids respectively. Okay, so once again, just to brush up, the shape, they have definite shape, do not have a definite shape or geometry. Constituting particles, long range order, they are short range order. Melting point, definite melting point, do not have a definite melting point. I told you can also use the word, they have a range of melting point. Heat of fusion, they have definite heat of fusion, do not have definite heat of fusion. Coming to cleavage property, these gives plane surfaces on cutting a solid. They give irregular surface when I cut the solid into two pieces. Anisotropy, crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, that is the value of the physical property will change when the direction changes, whereas this is isotropic, will get the same value of the physical property in all direction. Last one is they are true solids and these are pseudo solids. Okay, so these are the properties of our crystalline and amorphous solids. Now if you ask me, ma'am, should I learn all of this for my board exams? No, this question might be asked for 2 marks. Till now they have asked it for 2 marks. Not that they cannot ask for 3 marks, they may ask for 3 marks as well. But how many points should I study? For 2 marks, you can write 4 points. Okay, any 4 properties I can write, whichever you choose, whichever is easy for you all. You may tell, ma'am, for me shape, melting point, heat of fusion and nature is very easy. It's very simple. I can write definite, not definite, definite, not definite. It's very easy for me. I will learn that. Yes, you can learn that. Okay, but you be careful for your competitive exams. You cannot skip anything. You have to study for your JEE, NEET and other competitive exams completely. You cannot skip anything at all. Okay, so for the board exams, of course, it can come for 2 marks, but for your competitive exams, you need to learn everything. I hope you have understood today's class really well, and I just believe that you have understood. If you have any doubts, please pause, try to learn, write down the points and learn these 2 topics really well. Coming class, I will be teaching you all about the classification of molecular solids and what are unit cells, what is the packing efficiency and different properties of solids. Stay tuned. Thank you.